What's up, everyone? Happy Thanksgiving. We have Stan the Jet fan here in Connecticut this time, and we've got some football games to talk about, so let's get right into it here on No Buts About It. What's up, everyone? I am Josh Butts. This is No Buts About It. We have Stan the Jet fan here joining us. But before we get started, I do want to share some information with everyone. I had an eye surgery yesterday, which those of you who have been around for a while know that that's not a new thing. Unfortunately, they basically put in a drain in my eye so that the pressures would lower. So this eye is weak. So if I start winking, like doing this thing, I'm not flirting with you. I'm not flirting with Stan. I'm just trying to give my eye some rest. So feel free to comment, mess around, joke with me. I don't care. But that's what's going on. Stan, thank you for joining us after you made the long trip from Florida to Connecticut. I can imagine the weather change is something you're adjusting to.
Yeah, back with my family for Thanksgiving. Weather change is definitely a big difference, but I'm only here for like 3 days, so I'll live with it. December, I'll be here for like 3 weeks, so that might be a little tougher.
So you're gonna go home and then be in Florida for a week and then come back? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'll be in Florida for about 2.5 weeks before I get back up here.
Okay. Okay. Well, speaking of Thanksgiving, and thank you for joining us, taking time away from your family as well. But we've got some football on Thanksgiving. One of the long-standing traditions of America is football on Thanksgiving. And it just so happens that my Cincinnati Bengals play against the Baltimore Ravens on Thanksgiving. Now, first, let's recap what happened against the Patriots. And Stan, I think you watched this game a little bit. Did you watch this game a little bit? You were texting me about it.
I did. I was watching most of the second half, and I think parts of the first half as well.
Okay, so what before we get into my long in-depth stuff, what did you notice? What were your takeaways?
I mean, the first takeaway was that the Bengals defense was, playing defense, which is something we haven't seen them do a whole lot. So that was definitely a good sign for the Bengals. I mean, it's as these games go by and you get closer to the end of the season, it's looking less and less likely that team will have any shot at the playoffs. But you still have, you have Joe Burrow coming back for this upcoming game. That could be a big difference maker. It should be a big difference maker for the Bengals. And with that defense taking a step up, I think the performance against the Patriots, it's definitely a good sign. I wouldn't say it's a great sign. You didn't win the game at the end of the day, but you're moving in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, so my takeaways are very similar to what you said. The Bengals defense looked a lot better. And you had mentioned this last week. You said this is a very winnable game for the Bengals. And I didn't believe it. I thought the Patriots were going to come in and just do whatever they wanted. And that really wasn't the case for most of the game. The defense held strong. Geno Stone had a pick six. Of course, Joe Flacco also threw a pick six, so that kind of just negates both of those scores. But I thought that we had some guys who really stepped up. And if they continue to step up, this defense will be very promising for the rest of this year and possibly into next season because a lot of these guys are guys who are under contract no matter what. And they're not even necessarily guys that we have to bring back. So, first up is Miles Murphy. This is a guy we have been waiting years for him to step up. He's a former first round pick. He's a guy that honestly, a lot of people, and myself included in that, were kind of wondering why he was made a first round pick. And he hasn't really had a chance to step up. He didn't play a lot under Lou Anarumo's defense and still hasn't really played a ton this year with, you've got Shamar Stewart, Trey Hendrickson, but both of those guys are hurt now. And so it was Miles Murphy's opportunity. And he didn't get a sack. I think he might have gotten one last week. Let me double check here. He did get one last week against the Steelers, but he got a lot of pressures. So these two games together, we've seen Miles Murphy improve a ton, which is very promising for this Bengals defense. If we can kind of get a third promising pass rusher or even a second, assuming Trey Hendrickson leaves after this season. The other two guys I want to, or there's three here. I'm not used to being able to highlight so many Bengals players on defense. McKinley Jackson. McKinley Jackson is a guy that I really liked, but he requested a trade this season. He didn't get the trade, obviously. He wasn't getting played. He was inactive for a lot of the season, which was really weird because he kind of ended his rookie year last year playing really well. And he was someone who we were excited to see. But he was one of the best graded players against the Patriots, against the run, which is what they brought him in to do. And so if he can continue to live up to that, we have got some promise here. Then also Jalen Davis, who is not a big name at all. He has been with the Bengals forever. I think he's actually the longest tenured Bengal. But he is a cornerback, and he came in when Cam Taylor-Britt was hurt, and they had some other injuries on defense during the game. And so he stepped up, and he's been a leader during practices, according to the reporters. And he even had a sack during this game. So Jalen Davis, keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully you may get a bigger role in this defense in the future. But I think the biggest one is Barrett Carter. Barrett Carter is a fourth-round rookie who he kind of took the spot of Logan Wilson and was not playing well. He was taking weird angles. He was, just someone like we were asking, or I was asking, and a lot of Bengals fans were asking, why did we replace Logan Wilson with this guy? And he wears the green dot, and it was just like, really, this is what we're doing? Like, he's got potential, but he's not there yet. He had 16 tackles against the Patriots. So if he can do that, if we can get rid of the missed tackles, if missed tackles aren't a problem anymore, Barrett Carter, I apologize. I conditionally apologize right now that if you play like you did the rest of this season and the rest of your career, I apologize. You've got to do that, though, right? That's what we need to see on defense. And now Joe Burrow is coming back. The Dark Knight rises. He returns. And, Stan, I got to apologize to you, too. This one's unconditional. You said that you thought Joe Burrow could be the difference in this Patriots game, him playing or him not playing. And I didn't believe it. I said Joe Flacco has been playing fine. Watching that game, I got to say, if this guy's playing, I think we do win that game. I think we win against the Patriots because I don't think he throws that pick six. So hopefully against the Ravens, we will get to see some Joe Burrow action. T. Higgins is out, but we're going to get Mitchell Tinsley, who is another not big name, but he's had some big plays this season. Undrafted free agent, just insane wide receiver. Hopefully America discovers him. I picked him up on fantasy today. He had 0% rostered, 0% starting. I might be the only one in the country who has him. But I'm ready. I'm ready for this. I'm feeling more confident going into this Ravens game. So, and Stan, your Jets just came off playing the Ravens. So what should Bengals fans be looking at with this Ravens defense that you noticed?
Well, to start off, Lamar Jackson is not the same Lamar Jackson we've seen time and time again. He did not look great at times against the Jets. Now, he was still making passes. He was still making plays. But you can tell he seemed to be a little more scared, which is not something I've ever really associated with Lamar Jackson. Now, the Jets D-line, they were really getting in there, especially on the interior side of that D-line. So I'm not as familiar with the Bengals interior D-line, but I think a lot of your success with keeping Lamar Jackson contained and preventing him from going off will be dependent on your defensive tackles of getting in there, pushing past their weaker interior line. On the outside of the line, there was also some weakness there, but the interior was, to me, the weakest part. On the defense for the Ravens, they were not looking great. I mean, they were playing Tyrod Taylor and the band of misfit toys with the Jets. They should have looked a lot better. They should have, and they didn't. Now, part of that could be with the fact that the Jets do have two, better receivers stepping into bigger roles with them, two younger guys, and Mechie and Mitchell there. But I think a lot of it is just the fact that the Ravens, they're kind of in a weird moment. They don't have a lot of the guys they have these last couple of years that gave them their identity on defense. So they're trying to kind of cycle that out, moving into a new direction with this defense. And it's not looking too great right now. This entire season, there have been a lot of ups and downs, perhaps more downs than ups for this Ravens team. Even in a lot of their wins, as we saw against the Jets, they didn't look like the team they're supposed to be. So I would be very optimistic if I was a Bengals fan, that my team with Joe Burrow can at least be competitive. Now, for the Ravens, I believe right now they're top of that division, or at least right there with the Steelers.
Yeah, we'll double check here. I know it's close. They are 6-5, and the Steelers are 6-5.
Yeah, so they're tied for top. A win against one of those teams, if the Bengals have any chance at making the playoffs, is going to be through the Ravens. Now you play the Ravens twice more in your schedule. If I'm correct,
Correct.
you've already played the
Correct.
Steelers twice. So these two Ravens games are going to be super, super important for this Bengals team.
Yeah, and even more because they play the Bills still as well. They play 2 Ravens games, the Bills, and then it's Dolphins, Cardinals, Browns. So you've got a bit of a gauntlet here, but near the end, you got 3 winnable games. Very winnable games if the defense continues to play like how they played on Sunday. Now, of course, that's a condition that we haven't seen yet. I think it's interesting though that you brought up the interior D line for the Bengals, or for the interior O line for the Ravens, which means it'll be the interior D line for the Bengals that needs to step up. And that's really a spot where the Bengals have been looking for someone to step up ever since DJ Reader left in free agency. He went to the Lions. And they drafted Chris Jenkins in the second last year. Didn't really necessarily see. This is another guy who kind of shined at the end of last year, but this year hasn't really done a whole lot. We're still kind of waiting for him to show us why he was that second round pick. And same thing with McKinley Jackson, who we just talked about. He was a third round pick. That third round from last year isn't really looking too good right now, but McKinley Jackson can change that. McKinley Jackson has potential. Jermaine Burton, I don't know what happened to him. The coaches just don't trust him. You'd think Jamar Chase out, Jermaine Burton would at least be activated. Nope. He hasn't played a single snap this year. But that's besides the point. This could be a game where we see McKinley Jackson and Chris Jenkins step up. Something that has really plagued the Bengals for a long time is tight ends. So how did the tight ends look for the Ravens?
Well, I remember Mark Andrews having a really big drop there. Mark Andrews has been looking kind of weird these last couple of years. He's not looking like the Mark Andrews who used to win me fantasy every single Sunday 2 years ago, right? He's getting old. He's aging, and you could tell he is. I think they're still forcing the ball to him more than they should, and that should be a good thing for the Bengals. If he makes the same mistakes he's been making throughout the season in big moments for the Bengals, that can be a difference maker. Now, maybe Harbaugh will look at Mark Andrews' performance against the Jets, and maybe at this point in time, he'll begin to kind of wean off him a little bit more. But I don't know if I expect Harbaugh to do that. I think he's been very dependent on Andrews, except in games when someone else in that room takes that big step up. But assuming that doesn't happen, I think it should be a better situation for the Bengals, given that Mark Andrews is not looking too great this season, and he had a shaky-ish performance against the Jets.
What did we see out of? I know Isaiah Likely was hurt, so I don't want to. Did Isaiah Likely play against the Jets?
I don't believe so.
Okay, he might still be hurt. I'm not 100% confident in that. But was it mainly just Mark Andrews that was the only tight end you saw out there?
I mean, there were other tight ends blocking. I can't really remember. I could be wrong, but I can't really remember any other receivers, like receiving tight ends making
Okay.
there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be something that the Bengals have to just figure that out, because you cannot have a situation where the quarterback is guaranteed a pass with yards after catch to a tight end every single week. I don't know if it's going to be Demetrius Knight or if it's going to be Barrett Carter, but one of them is going to need to step up, or Oren Burks. One of those 3 linebackers is going to need to step up and make a play against these tight ends, because Lamar Jackson just having that kind of safety blanket of Mark Andrews, like you said, he's getting older, but that the Bengals can't allow that to happen, because Mark Andrews will punish you, and he does still have that potential, even though he is getting older. One final thing, Derrick Henry. This was the dangerous thing about the Ravens last year, was having the dual running threat of Lamar and Derrick Henry. When I've watched the Ravens this year, Derrick Henry looked kind of slow. Did he look slow on Sunday again?
He looked pretty poor against the Jets, but the Jets D-line, they are built for the run. They've done very well against running backs for most of the season, except the first couple of weeks. So I don't know if it's as much just Derrick Henry's age or anything. Yes, he has looked slower, but there've been plenty of games where he's looked close to the normal Derrick Henry. He did have like a couple of breakaway moments. He had, a touchdown. He was doing well and he was still contributing to that team, but he definitely was getting stuffed more often than normal at the line.
All right. Yeah, I think the Bengals key, based on what you're telling me, based on what we've seen from this Ravens team in general, is going to be the interior D line getting some pressures, like you said, having McKinley Jackson step up, having Chris Jenkins step up, and then, limiting those tight end throws. Force Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers to make the plays. Force injured Lamar Jackson, because he is injured. He's still on the injury report. Force him to use his arm. Don't let him use his legs. Keep him contained. And I think that will help the Bengals out a ton. And then just after that, let Joe Burrow make plays. Let him sling it to Jamar. Let him sling it to Mitch, Mike, whoever. Mitch Tinsley might have a big game. I'm telling you guys, fantasy fans out there, Mitch Tinsley, get him on your bench. But that's what.
One last note on Jackson while we're on that. I will say he still is looking great with his feet. The issues with the injury, I think, might be more so to confidence. He doesn't seem as confident with the decisions he's making. But like that O line for the Ravens looked way worse than I expected them to look. Way worse than they've looked at earlier points of this season. And it was Jackson's ability to navigate the pressure, get out of the pocket, make the right decisions there that allowed him to not get sacked as much as he would have. I think a different quarterback, you could have seen easily a 5-6 sack game there.
I think what I want to see is, I think Lamar will get a lot of throws off. I would like to see him make these throws under pressure, though, because I think the Bengals DBs can create turnovers, and we've seen them create turnovers when the quarterback is under pressure. DJ Turner specifically, Geno Stone and Jordan Battle. I don't know which version of them we're going to get tomorrow. Jordan Battle, for the love of God, please. I don't know who taught you this. I don't know why this keeps happening, but I keep noticing it. He keeps hitting people with his shoulder to knock them down instead of just tackling them. Just grab him and knock him and bring him down. I'm saying this because I like you, Jordan Battle. I like you. I like you as a person. I like you as a player. Just take and wrap, right? Okay. So if we do that, we'll be okay. That's my final thing. Just Chuss isn't here. Chuss is a big Jordan Battle guy too, but I don't know why this is a thing. Stop doing this. It's stupid. Anyway, did you watch the Browns game?
I watched the highlights after, mainly Sanders, but didn't watch the game live.
I like this guy. I like this guy right here, Shedeur Sanders. And I was not a huge Shedeur Sanders dude coming into this, but watching him play on Sunday was the most fun I have ever had watching the Browns play football. I think the Browns may have something here. I don't want to, overreact, but I'm a little scared. I'm a little scared of him. And I've seen some Bengals fans online trying to, degrade what he did, diminish what Shedeur Sanders did against the Raiders. And I get it was against the Raiders. But like he said in his post-game interview, that was just 1 week of practice. And he played pretty well. He had some nice throws for a guy who doesn't have an arm. I thought it was good. He had me smile. I'm still smiling thinking about it. Stan, I don't know if your opinion has changed at all regarding Shedeur Sanders and the Browns potentially trading him in the future.
My opinion is actually the same. I just think he's not a good fit for the Browns based on what they need to do moving forward. Now, if they keep Stefanski, Maybe Stefanski will want to hold on to him more. The thing with Stefanski is I just don't think Stefanski is a good candidate to kind of keep him in control. Like Shedeur Sanders needs a strong, kind of aggressive head coach. He needs a head coach who's going to, put his fist down, say, this is what you're doing. This is how you're talking to the media. This is how you're acting with your teammates. He needs a coach to be very strict with him, and I just don't see Stefanski as that guy. So my opinion on him being the guy for the Browns moving forward has not changed. I also think for a rebuilding team, you don't want a guy like Sanders because he's going to complain. Like in year two, if he's having a good to great year, he's going to complain constantly when the team is still losing. So it's just, I still think he's not a good fit for the Browns. What I did say last episode, and I still stick by, is he is a better quarterback in terms of ceiling than Dylan Gabriel. Like I still agree with that. He's a better quarterback. He has a better ceiling. I just don't think he's good for the Browns.
So what if the Browns came, because there is rumors of this happening. They fire Kevin Stefanski, they fire Andrew Berry, they bring in a new potentially hard-nosed coach that you think can control. I know you said you thought like Aaron Glenn could last week. Not that they would bring in Aaron Glenn, but someone like Aaron Glenn. Would that would change your opinion then?
It would. The thing is, I also don't like Shedeur Sanders as a candidate on, a weak team. I think he will be an issue in the media when you're losing a lot of games. To me, like if I'm Shedeur Sanders, my hope is to get traded to a team like the Lions, who have an older quarterback, a winning culture, a hard-nosed head coach. Like that to me is a perfect spot for Shedeur Sanders. Now, I don't know how much the Lions want him, but their quarterback isn't very young anymore. So maybe they go and they make that move and they try to, look into their future with a very cheap quarterback.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting, and I get what you're saying, but I don't know. I just think if I'm the Browns, the Houseums, the team owners, I'm looking at what happened with Baker Mayfield, right? Baker Mayfield was this high potential quarterback. We gave up on him after injury. And sure, he didn't blossom right away, but he went to the Panthers, then he went to the Rams and blew up on the Rams. And now look what he's doing in Tampa Bay. Do I want that to happen again if I am the Browns? So I think they could be more hesitant to move on from someone like Shedeur if he continues to play well. And I will say, I'm someone who would have criticized him for being cocky. I think his interviews, and we'll see what happens after a loss, but I thought his interviews on Sunday, he was cocky, but it was like a humble cockiness, if that makes sense. Kind of like Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. Kind of like where they're like, yeah, I know I just did that, but also like we got the team. Like we're all you're they're happy. It was fun to watch. That was kind of what I was getting at. So maybe he has matured a little bit.
I'm not sure because still in that game, like he said, the thing about 1 week of practice, like winning quarterbacks don't make excuses. I still think he has a lot of growing to do. He has a lot of maturing to do. And like that's why I said like Dan Campbell, I think he's a guy who could kind of mold him into a better mentality quarterback, which I just think that's still too much of a weakness for Shedeur. And like with that game too, it's like he still threw a pick and he's like, oh, it's 1 week of practice. He's making excuses. He's being cheeky with it. I don't think that's the right attitude for a team that's probably going to lose a lot of games next year. Now, if the Browns think they could create a winning culture in one off season and turn the ship around with a new head coach, I'll try it out with Shedeur. But with these good performances, especially if you see more of this and he's moving in the right direction, I also see the fact that you might be able to get maybe a third, maybe even maybe a second for Shedeur and like a day 3 pick in a trade there. Um, I would just go and take the value there for the Browns because I just don't think they're the right organization. They've never been good as an organization at handling this, and with the Haslams, they've never done a good job with that. I think Baker is a different situation because he still had the right mentality in the end of those days with Cleveland. He was ready to be a good backup quarterback to Deshaun. Obviously, it didn't work out that way, but he had the right mindset there. And then when we're talking about the cheekiness with guys like Burrow and Mahomes have earned that. You didn't hear Mahomes doing that when he was sitting behind I can't remember who it is now, but whoever he was sitting
Alex
behind that
Smith.
first year, Alex Smith, yeah. He wasn't saying that in his first game, second game in. he was quiet. No one really thought about Mahomes back then, right? He came onto the scene because he played so well. He earned that right to be on the scene. Joe Burrow won a championship in college, right? He came to the Bengals, immediately made a difference there. It's just not the same. And I just think the Browns are not built as a franchise to deal with that. And I don't see them in terms of trajectory being able to create a winning culture enough and soon enough where you can kind of control Shedeur a little bit easier.
Yeah, I didn't really hear the 1 week of practice thing as an excuse. I heard it as a like that was good and I'm gonna keep getting better type thing. You know what I'm saying? He just I I don't know. And they play the 49ers this week with a much better defense, a much better defensive coordinator. So we'll see what he does. And yes, he still threw a pick, but he also just played. I mean, I'm not going to hold him throwing a pick against him because he made so many other really good plays that if we just focus on him throwing a pick, we're going to end up missing the whole picture. We're going to
Well,
miss the forest for the trees.
my point with the pick is that I think he should have been a little quieter going into that interview. I think he should let his play do the talking and not talk himself because it hasn't really worked for him at all. And though when I say not talk himself, I don't mean miming. He tried that, didn't work.
I I get it. I get the hesitancy. I do. It's just I think if you're a Browns, I think Browns fans are rightfully excited about this guy. And I think Browns fans should be excited about this entire class that they have. I have harped on this all season. Carson Schwessinger is possibly your defensive rookie of the year. You've got Mason Graham, who was making some hard hits on the outside as a defensive tackle on Sunday. Then you've got Isaiah Bond was an undrafted free agent. Like you've got some really, really, really good. Dylan Sampson had a huge touchdown. Uh, Quinshawn, like you can just go on and on. This is a really good draft class. And as a fan of another AFC North team, I'm scared of the potential that the Browns have to create something really, really good here for the next few years. So but that rests on what Shedeur becomes and how, or Dylan Gabriel, and how the Browns handle this situation, right? Because and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but say you do trade Shedeur and you decide that Dylan Gabriel is going to be your backup and you draft a guy in round one. Say you draft Fernando Mendoza out of IU. And Fernando Mendoza, who I think is a fantastic quarterback, very smart player, but maybe he just isn't ready to go. Do you waste all of these great rookies' second years and let Dylan Gabriel lose out all your games or something? But I don't know. I think they're in a very volatile situation where if they handle it the right way, they're going to be a powerhouse. But if they handle it the wrong way, they're right back where they started.
Yeah, to me, the decision is less so on those quarterbacks and more so on the head coach. I think that's where it starts and ends. Um, there's just a lot of big personalities in that locker room. You know, Quinshawn Judkins himself, uh, Elijah Moore. There's a lot of guys who I just worry about Stefanski's ability to control that room. Deshaun Watson, right? There's just too many storylines there. And that's why I think it would be a good time for the Browns to take the young guys they have, get a good head coach who they think they like the vision of. Move on. A lot of those older guys, the veterans, are going to move on in free agency, and then be able to build into the future. Now that could have Shedeur. My concern is not going to be fixed, I guess, until we see who the next head coach is. That to me will change how we view Shedeur.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I do want to clarify one thing just for viewers' confusion. Elijah Moore is no longer on the Browns, so there's one personality. He actually got cut by the Buffalo Bills today, so I guess he could get re-signed by the Cleveland Browns. Maybe you're predicting the future here, but yeah, the Bills just cut him today after they signed Brandon Cooks yesterday.
Yeah, my bad
So
on that, but still, there's a lot of big personalities there, and I just don't think Stefanski is. I think he's proven time and time again that he's not the guy who can handle that in a locker room.
but he could be a good offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals in the future. As my dreams continue to swirl around in my head. Let's see. What's our next talking point? We've got so many different things we can talk about. Let's go ahead and I'll toss a bone to our friends up in Minnesota. Let's talk about the situation with J.J. McCarthy. First of all, what are your thoughts just with the Vikings quarterback situation in general?
Reminds me a little bit of the Jets from a couple years ago. I mean, just kind of the vibe of the team. It's weird because J.J. McCarthy, he had a lot going for him. The big concern leaving college was that he played in a very run-heavy system, so it's never really clear how that transfers to the professional level. And I think now it's not looking great. We've seen quarterbacks come back from this, though, right? Josh Allen looked pretty bad starting out, threw a lot of picks. The stats weren't great for him. Took him, what, 3 years, I think, to get into a good quality starter quarterback. So maybe you see that from JJ McCarthy. It's extra weird in this situation with Minnesota, considering they had a quarterback who was able to take them into the playoffs, able to lead that team to some great things last year. And now you're moving on from him. A few years back, you had Kirk Cousins, you moved on from him. To me, if I'm the Vikings, I just stick on to McCarthy for now, see what he has, and maybe bring in a good quality backup. There's like 15 teams in the NFL that I think will try to get one of those good quality backups this season. There's a lot of young quarterbacks right now, or quarterbacks with a lot of question marks around them. So we'll see if the Vikings can get one of those guys onto their roster. But to me, that could be a step to elevate that room while keeping McCarthy.
Yeah, so the Vikings, and you mentioned that quarterback that took him to the playoffs last year, Sam Darnold, he's balling in Seattle right now. Seattle is arguably the best team in the NFC right now. And they're playing the Vikings this Sunday, actually. So, little possible revenge game for Sam Darnold there. A little reminder of what you could have had. But then also you mentioned Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is down in Atlanta right now, and Michael Penix Jr. went on injured reserve with a leg injury late in the year. Kirk Cousins' contract, I believe, is coming to an end. Falcons are going to be looking for a veteran starter. They're going to be looking for someone too. Do you re-sign Kirk Cousins? There, like you mentioned, there's going to be a lot of teams looking for those good quality veterans who can start. Carson Wentz is injured, and so that means the Vikings are starting this guy against the Seattle Seahawks, an undrafted free agent, Max Brosmer. Brosmer. I don't know. He played for Minnesota Golden Gophers. He's a rookie. He's got like 76 passing yards this season. I don't know much about him. Maybe guys like One Bar and Lupagus know more, who we've had on this show before. But I don't. If I'm Minnesota, I'm not really too confident in my quarterback room right now. There's even been rumors that Minnesota is going to try to go after Daniel Jones, who's been killing it in Indianapolis. And he struggled last week against the Chiefs, but that's the Chiefs. So I don't know that Minnesota knows. I think they're in a very similar situation to the Browns, where they don't know what their future is at the quarterback position. I mean, you went all in on J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy loses his entire rookie year. That's hard. But then he keeps getting injured this year. And when he does play, he doesn't look good. He looks awful. I just saw they did like one of those blind quarterback comparisons, this podcast I was watching. I forget what it's called. But they compared JJ's stats to Jamarcus Russell's stats. JJ's stats were so bad. They were way worse than Jamarcus Russell's stats. And Jamarcus Russell is considered the greatest quarterback bust of all time. So what do you do if you're Minnesota? Do you hope Max Brosmer just becomes this like Brock Purdy type player where he just came out of nowhere? Is that what you're hanging your hat on? Or like, who do you think they could go after this offseason, Stan? I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be available. And if he is, he's going to be way too much money if you still think J.J. McCarthy's the future.
Yeah, I don't think there is really a good option there. It's a lot of weird options, a lot of, 1-year deals. Um, if I'm the Vikings, my first idea would be to go and just trade for a starting quarterback on a team that's kind of dissolving. There are rumors that Joe Burrow might be on the market. I know you're not going to be a big fan of this, but if I'm the Vikings, I might throw in everything I can to get Joe Burrow on the team, right? Give it all because he can get you to the playoffs season after season if he stays healthy, and he can do plenty in the playoffs. We've seen him do, right? He's made a Super Bowl before, so he could be that guy to take them to that next level. The only thing is to get Joe Burrow, the amount you'd have to lose might not be worth it.
You throw me 3 first-round picks and Justin Jefferson, and I'll pick up the phone to begin negotiations on Joe Burrow. It ain't happening.
That's what I'm saying. I think even if he is on the market, I don't think the Bengals would take an amount that Minnesota would be comfortable giving.
There would be a large coup. There would be a coup in Cincinnati. Paycor would burn to the ground if they traded Joe Burrow. They will not. At this point, the Cincinnati Bengals will not trade Joe Burrow. I don't care what the rumors say. If they do, Mike Brown sell the team. But yeah, I'm curious what what Vikings, Chris Vikings. You comment a lot under these videos. Let us know, what is the Vikings fan consensus around the quarterback situation. I've seen a lot of Vikings fans hate Kevin O'Connell. They are not happy with Kevin O'Connell at all, which is interesting because I really like Kevin O'Connell, or I think I like Kevin O'Connell. Maybe I'm missing something about Kevin O'Connell. Chris, let us know down below, what is the consensus on the Vikings quarterback situation, and then what is the consensus on Kevin O'Connell? Is he a potential future, on the market coach that a small Midwest team with a promising generational quarterback and top receiver in the NFL could potentially go after, such as the Cincinnati Bengals? But yeah, it's a very weird situation. How much of a leash would you give? What's his name? J.J. McCarthy.
Well, young quarterbacks nowadays get at least a couple of years, especially when you're drafted as high as J.J. McCarthy is. I think that's the norm nowadays, that you're seeing it more and more with guys taking longer to develop. And like even with Daniel Jones, like his breakout season happened really early on, and then he just went downhill, 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 downhill until he went to the Colts. Like it takes time to see what you have with the quarterback. The thing is, the Vikings, they have a pretty good team, right? Um, it's so hard to tell how much of this is just us over, assuming Sam Darnold's role last year or under assuming it. Vikings fans said Sam Darnold was nothing. They said that Sam Darnold was, just a quarterback in a great system. He was doing what so many quarterbacks with the 49ers have done. But now look, it doesn't look like that anymore. It's so hard to just understand how much talent this team has, what they could be with a different quarterback, even. And without that information, it's hard to give an answer to like what that leash might look like. But I would guess he gets at least 2 seasons. If the Vikings roll into next year with J.J. McCarthy as their starter, I'm sure some fans will complain. But for the most part, they'll be happy because J.J. McCarthy's going to do fine in the preseason. He's going to do fine in the offseason. He's going to have enough time to improve and hopefully be good enough to be a starter for this team. But realistically, I think it's just going to be 2 years. Third year, you move off from him, kind of similar to what the Jets did with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, so I just want people to see these stats real quick. This is JJ McCarthy's stats. He has 2 games that he's played in with a completion percentage over 60. He has yet to throw for over 1,000 yards this season. He's only played in 6 of the team's 11 games, I believe. I think they've had their bye week. 6 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and a 57.9 passer rate. That is terrible for a first-round quarterback. that you have put your entire franchise on almost because you had it. You were a playoff team. You were a Super Bowl contender last year with the Brian Flores defense, with Justin Jefferson, with Aaron Jones. Like it was perfect. And you threw it all away on this guy's potential, and he hasn't lived up to that. So, I mean, one game over 200 passing yards, and even in that game, he had a below 50% accuracy. So he can with a top 2 NFL wide receiver, mind you. It's not like he doesn't have guys to throw to. He's got Hawkinson, he's got Addison, he's got Justin Jefferson. He's got the weapons. That would be a different conversation. I don't want to sit here and just, rag on him. He's a guy that we've rooted for. But you've got to call a spade here, and he just hasn't played good. And he hasn't been consistent. So I don't know. I don't know what you do here if you're the Vikings.
Here's the question, Josh. For the Bengals game tomorrow, you have to choose the quarterback. It's either Justin Fields or J.J. McCarthy. And if the Bengals lose, you're dead. Who you going with?
So for the wait for the Bengals games so like
the Bengals playing the Ravens.
Okay.
Your quarterback is going to be either J.J. McCarthy or Justin Fields. They're playing for your life. Who you going with?
Do I have the rest of the Bengals team?
Everything else is the same. Same Ravens, same Bengals, just different quarterback.
Shoot, that's hard. That's scary. I think I'd go with Justin Fields and just hope Chase Brown has a really good game. This guy right here, he has his life in my hands. That's who I'm handing the ball to the entire time. Because I think I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Justin Fields will turn over the ball less too, and we can just run the ball and just
he
run
definitely
out
will
the
turn
clock.
over the ball less. That's for sure.
So I think Justin Fields is my pick. Who would you go with?
I would probably go with Justin Fields because I think if you get the J.J. McCarthy interception on the wrong side of the 50, that's just going to be an easy touchdown for the other team. I think the Ravens in good field position will score every time with Lamar Jackson in that offense. So I'd probably go with Justin Fields, though. I wouldn't feel too confident about it. I'd make some phone calls.
Yeah, same. That's such a evil question. Let's move on. Vikings fans, Chris, one bar, you guys down below, let me know what you guys think about that. What's the plan up in Minnesota? Stan, you didn't have a ton of thoughts. You had some thoughts on the New York football teams. Either one, whichever one you feel like talking about more. We got 15 minutes here, so share your thoughts with the class.
Yes, the Giants, and also if you want to talk about the Cowboys a little bit, I think that's an interesting game
Yeah, that's
tomorrow.
true. Yeah.
But with the Giants, it's just you got Jackson Dart coming back. You saw Winston do some great things with that football team. Almost beat the Lions. It almost looks like maybe the coaches kind of sold the game, made some decisions to maybe give it to the other team. Question mark there. But Winston was playing well. He was looking great out there. He diced a good defense up. So when I'm looking at Jackson Dart, he's playing the Patriots. You have a weaker O-line protecting Drake May, getting that run game going. To me, it goes from what should be an easy game for the Patriots to more of a toss-up. Now, it is still a home game for New England, so I think that helps them out a lot. Those fans get passionate, and they're more passionate now than they've been any time since they had Tom Brady. So that's going to be an interesting environment for Jackson Dart to kind of navigate there. But coming back from an injury, coming back from a concussion too, specifically, it'll be a very interesting game for Jackson Dart. You'll learn a lot about him. The way quarterbacks come back from injury. Like Lamar Jackson, like he looked scared out there, but he was making plays. He looked like Lamar Jackson, who was a little scared, right? If Jackson Dart looks like Jackson Dart, but a little scared, that wouldn't be a bad thing. That would be a great sign for Giants fans. That to me is the biggest question mark on the Giants side of things going into the game. For the Patriots with that game, it's really about Drake May. When he has pressure from what's been one of the better D lines in the NFL for the last couple of years, right? They've consistently had a great D line. They have good coaching there. They're probably going to be able to bring that back for Monday night against the Patriots. Can Drake May make his passes on time? Will he get pushed out of the pocket a little too much? He's looked comfortable out of the pocket, but with the Giants, a team that have a little speed on those edge rushes there, that could be a big question mark.
Yeah, and they've got their left guard Jared Wilson is doubtful for the Patriots. So that interior O line with Sexy Dexy, Mr. Lawrence, he could have a game. And the Drake May felt some pressure against the Bengals D line, and they have a way worse D line than what the Giants have. Like you said, and Brian Burns, he's not even on the D line, but he's still a great pass rusher. So just keeping him safe. Will Campbell, he got put on IR today, so that left side is going to be weak potentially. We'll see what the Giants can do. And I know Malik Neighbors was not happy with the Giants coaches on Sunday. We saw that tweet. We saw it, Malik. I think you deleted it, but we saw it. But so that might not pose well for Mr. Kafka as a head coaching candidate, but we will see what happens in that coaching search. There's all sorts of rumors about who's going to take that position. You wanted to talk about you go.
I was just going to say, on that final drive there, it seemed like every single coaching decision that was made was the wrong one. Like right there in the goal line, they could have ran it, taken some time off the clock, but no, they pass it. Nothing happens. They give it to the other team from a fourth down, turnover downs, and the other team makes it work.
Why did this picture of Zach Taylor just appear out of nowhere? That's so weird. You were talking about a coach making the wrong decisions, and I got confused. But you wanted to talk about Zach Taylor's never going to come on this show. I'm sorry, Zach. I'm sure you're a nice guy. You wanted to talk about the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys are playing the Chiefs. I think that will be a very interesting game. The Cowboys, they've won their last two games with their renewed defense there. And the last game they won against the Eagles, that was the game they were not slotted to win, right? I've been putting a little bit of cash on the Cowboys, and that's been turning out well for me. I already put some on for this game tomorrow. We'll see how that works out. But I just think this Cowboys team, they've really made the right decisions ever since they made a terrible decision in moving on from McCarthy. They've been doing a good job of trying to fill in that gap. And honestly, they might be a better defense now. I think I can confidently say they're a better defense now than what they had at the beginning of the season. So they've done a great job of building this up. You're playing the Chiefs, a team that they're right there on the brink of the playoffs. Honestly, I don't think they're making it. I don't think the Chiefs are making it at this point in time. This game against the Cowboys is going to be major for them. It's Thanksgiving, prime time. Everyone's watching. We'll see what happens, but I'm very excited. I think the Cowboys have gone from like my third least favorite team to one of my favorites over the course of the season, just with the decisions they've made and with how fun that defense is to watch.
No, I think you're right. I think you nailed it. Marvion Obershone, just getting him back was such a game changer. Specifically, I think he came back 2 weeks ago, and that pass rush has been so fun to watch for the Dallas Cowboys, and they do look better. And part of that could be like maybe the coaches had to go in and say, hey, look, Micah Parsons is not a Dallas Cowboy anymore. We cannot just rely on him to create pressures. We need guys to step up. And when you have multiple guys step up, and they're all playing well, then you have pressure coming from different angles. Not only that, if one guy kind of has an off game, you still have two more that are still playing well. Say Overshone just, he's sick that day, not feeling well. He's still out there, but, he's a little slower. You still got two more guys who can, do play well, create those pressures. And I love how they've put a little sad note on it, but I love how they've honored Marshawn Kneeland. and him passing away, they've continued to remember him as a teammate. And that's shown with the flag they have on the sidelines. And I think that has given them a reason to play as well. They're honoring Nealand with their play. And so all of these guys are playing a little harder. They're digging a little deeper. And sometimes that's what a team needs. It's unfortunate that it came through the circumstances that it did. Nobody wants that. No one's happy about that. But the team is, in the face of adversity, face of terrible adversity, digging deeper and playing well because of that. And they've become a better football team by finding that next level of play. And Dak. He plays really, really well for stretches, and then he'll play like where you don't know what he's even looking at. Is he watching the same game? So we'll see. Against the Chiefs, we're going to need really, really good Dak because the Chiefs will win. They find ways to win. That is what they do. And this year they're beat down. Just give them that knockout punch. I wish the Colts would have done it last week, but they didn't. They gave them life for a week or two more here, but I think the Cowboys have the ability to knock them out as well.
Yeah, I mean, just Clark and Williams, like that to me is most of how this defense works. They get it after the quarterback, or they're stuffing the run, right? They're doing one of those two things basically every play. And when that quarterback is on the run, it's very tough to make those passes downfield. It's something where I think Mahomes has always excelled in that part of the game. He's always been good at working on the run and off his feet. But with two of the top 5 defensive tackles in the league easily on one team, that makes it pretty tough to make those passes.
I don't know that I'd put Clark in top 5, but he's definitely top 10. I think he could be top 10. We can give him top 10. But your point still stands. They're creating pressures on the interior, and it's even if Overshown has to be a cleanup guy, he can be. You got Logan Wilson, who has had tons of games against Travis Kelce. You got him in that linebacker spot. You can move him in if you need to. I think this Cowboys defense is built very well to take on the Chiefs. So that should be a fun game. What are they? They're the middle game, right? Lions and Packers.
So. And the last one I think is Packers.
Lions Packers is 1:00. They were all weird times this year. The Lions Packers are 1:00. Then Cowboys Chiefs or Chiefs at Cowboys is 4:30. Bengals Ravens 8:20. So we got a good slate of football while we're eating some turkey. Do you have anything else you want to add before we end the show here?
No, just super excited for the games tomorrow. Super excited for Monday night. I think that's going to be a really interesting game. It's going to tell a lot about both those teams, as one of them is looking into the future, building into a Super Bowl worthy team. The other one is trying to win a Super Bowl this year. So we'll see what those two teams are made of.
All right. Thank you, Stan, for stopping by. Let us know your thoughts down below. Let us know. Do you think J.J. McCarthy is the future quarterback of the Vikings? Do you think the Bengals can win out? Or anything else you want to say? Do you think Shedeur Sanders is the future of the Browns? But either way, we appreciate you for stopping by. Like, comment, subscribe. Your subscriptions help us out so much. 95% of you who watch regularly are not subscribed, so you're missing content. We don't want you to miss content. But until next time, go do something nice for someone.